They sent thugs to break my gate. What they didn't know was I was waiting, shotgun in hand, and Karen's reign of terror was about to end. 6 years ago, I fled the city, desperate for a life free from the very chaos that was about to shatter my peace. My haven was 97 acres of sun-baked Texas soil, dotted with scrub trees. My beloved goats and a rusty windmill I painstakingly resurrected with my own hands. Not a soul for half a mile, that was the dream, and for a glorious stretch it was my reality. I'd poured my Army Corps of Engineers retirement into this land. Every penny, every permit filed, every inch of the 3-mile steel fence, hand-welded and secured with an electric gate, a testament to my hard-won sanctuary. It was mine, truly mine, and that, I would soon discover, meant everything. The first signs were insidious, elegant cream-colored envelopes reeking of HOA tyranny. Dear resident, they'd begin, a presumptuous insult to an owner, not a mere resident. These were from the High Oak View Estates Homeowners Association, a sterile gated community across the road, seemingly designed by soulless robots. Their president, a woman named Karen Delaney, apparently took offense at my untamed perimeter, my unconventional fencing, and my disruptive agricultural activities. Translation: my goats, living their best lives, were an affront to her carefully curated view. I initially tossed her imperious letters into my fire pit, but soon I began saving them, a growing stack of her audacity. By the 5th demand for me to attend a meeting about HOA values alignment, my patience snapped. My reply was a single stark sentence: I am not a member of your HOA. Cease correspondence. 2 weeks later, she dared to appear in person. It was a scorching Texas noon, cicadas humming their summer chorus, as I oiled the barn hinges. Then, the slow, deliberate crunch of gravel heralded her arrival. There she stood, at my gate, in a pristine white blouse and pastel pantsuit, her face a taut mask of disapproval, a frown tighter than any drill sergeant's. Without a shred of invitation, she pressed my intercom, as if she already owned the place. Mr. Harrison, her voice crackled, oozing false authority. This is Karen Delaney, president of High Oak View Estates HOA. I believe we need to speak. I sauntered to the speaker, taking my sweet time. Ma'am, I stated, my voice measured. Unless your truck's ablaze or you're bleeding, you've no business on my land. Oh, that ignited her. She puffed up like a provoked peacock, clutching her clipboard. As a neighboring community, we share an interest in the visual integrity of the area. Your structures and odors impact our residents. I leaned into the mic, a slow smile spreading across my face. That smell, Karen? That's freedom. If you don't like it, plant roses on your side of the road. She tried a softer tack, a deceptive plea. Wouldn't it simply be easier to join the association? You'd enjoy our support, our security, our standards. You'd be part of something greater than yourself. I paused, letting the silence hang. Karen, I dedicated 20 years in uniform to being part of something greater than myself. Now every inch of this dirt is mine, and the only thing I want to be a part of is goat manure and coffee at sunrise. Now kindly remove yourself from my easement. She left, but not before snapping a photo of my gate, a chilling premonition. I knew, with certainty, this was far from over. The letters escalated over the next month, each more absurd than the last. Non-existent noise ordinances, complaints about my perfectly functional solar panels, a certified declaration that my water tank was a hazard to community aesthetic cohesion. I actually laughed at that one, then promptly installed motion-activated sprinklers. My gate underwent a serious upgrade: steel reinforcement, a new rolling encryption code, floodlights, and 4 new cameras linked to a private server. Annoyance had morphed into a steely resolve. I despised bullies, especially those cloaking their malicious intent in saccharine phrases like community alignment and mutual compliance. My land was non-negotiable, but Karen, I suspected, wasn't accustomed to hearing no. A different, more dangerous approach, I feared, was coming. The first unsettling sign was fresh, heavy footprints in the mud near my south fence. Not my boots, but thick work-issue soles. Was it nothing or something? I flagged the camera logs. That same afternoon, returning from town with feed and propane, I found a black Ford, windows darkly tinted like a cartel car, idling outside my gate. 2 men, mid-30s, built like retired linebackers, in matching black polo shirts without logos, leaned against it. Not Karen this time. This wasn't a welcome wagon. These were enforcers. As I pulled in, they straightened. One approached my truck before I'd even killed the engine. I cracked the window halfway. "Mr. Harrison," he purred, a practiced casualness in his voice. "We're here on behalf of the High Oak View Estates HOA. Just a quick chat." "Then use the intercom," I replied, my hand firmly on the gear shift. He grinned. "You know how bureaucracy makes things messy. Karen just asked us to clear the air, neighbor to neighbor." I fixed him with a stare. "Are you on my easement?" He faltered. "Technically, this is public access until one step over that gravel line, and it's private property. You want friendly? You're on the wrong ranch." His grin vanished. His buddy, ex-military by his rigid stance, stepped forward. "Let's not play games," he sneered. "This community has standards. You're not special. Join the HOA. Keep your animals. No one cares. But keep resisting, and people get curious about what's behind these fences. Do you really want trouble, old man?" I met their gaze, letting the silence stretch, heavy and tense. Then I said, "You boys have 10 seconds to get off my access road before I let the goats out." They looked bewildered, then nervous, then burst into nervous laughter. I didn't laugh, and I certainly didn't unlock the gate. Eventually, they climbed back into their truck and rolled away, slowly, deliberately. I watched until they vanished, then marched to the barn and pulled the footage. Faces, plate, every word recorded. I backed it up, saved it, uploaded it to encrypted backups. 2 nights later, the real nightmare began. Just past midnight, half dozing in my recliner, the alarm shrieked. "Motion at gate 2." My eyes snapped open. On the feed, they were back. 3 of them, same truck, plus a 4th unknown man. One held a crowbar, another aimed a flashlight directly at camera 3, trying to blind it. The third, phone in hand, scanned for sirens. No hesitation. I grabbed my 12-gauge, loaded 4 shells, pulled on boots and coat, and slipped out the back entrance, embracing the darkness. My perimeter lights weren't automatic. I controlled them. I waited, listening to them strain against my fortified gate. It groaned, but held firm. Then the crowbar man started savagely assaulting the latch. That's when I flipped the lights. My yard exploded with stadium-bright LEDs, blinding them instantly. Before they could react, I emerged from the tool shed, racking the shotgun loud enough to echo down the road. They froze, statues of pure terror. "You are on private land," I boomed. 5 seconds to drop that crowbar and haul ass, or I put a round through the next pair of work boots that moves forward. Panic erupted. One dropped the bar and sprinted into the night. The flashlight guy collided with another, sending them both tumbling, one screaming about his ankle. I didn't move. I didn't shoot. I didn't need to. They were broken. As they scrambled into their truck, tires spitting mud, I calmly walked to the gate and kicked the crowbar aside. The injured man, limping badly, vanished into the passenger seat. I stood there, watching until the red taillights disappeared into the trees. Then, I turned to the camera, waved and muttered, "Hope you got that, Karen." Inside, I downloaded the footage, time-stamped everything. My AI system had captured their faces, the license plate, and even Karen's SUV, tucked between trees on the bend. That detail, that changed everything. This wasn't just intimidation. This was a calculated, orchestrated attack. They'd messed up. They'd come back too soon, left too many tracks. I called the sheriff's office the moment that cowardly truck was out of sight. No coffee, no sleep. I wanted this logged official, and on record while the adrenaline still coursed through me. 3 men, private property, attempted break-in, full video, facial recognition, audio, physical evidence. One's limping, crowbar marks on the gate, tire ruts, footprints. The deputy, calm and professional, wasn't accustomed to such a meticulously prepared call. He promised a unit by morning. "I'll have coffee ready," I assured him. 2 Kaufman County sheriff's officers arrived. Real Texas types. Sharp eyes, sun-worn skin, slow words, quick instincts. I showed them everything. Camera footage, crowbar dents, gate access logs, and that one grainy image of Karen's SUV. They meticulously documented the scene, bagged the crowbar, even lifted a partial boot print. It felt like the cavalry had finally arrived, but I was foolish to think it would be clean. The next morning, Deputy Miller called, asking me to come to the station for follow-ups. There she was in the lobby, Karen, in a blue blazer, her hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. Beside her, a man in a charcoal suit, radiating the slick confidence of a small-town lawyer who fancies himself a TV star. Karen wouldn't even meet my gaze. Her lawyer did. Thank heavens they called us in separately. In a private room with a deputy and recorder, I recounted my story, clear and unwavering. I handed over a USB containing all surveillance data, gate logs, GPS timestamps, and copies of Karen's letters. The deputy reviewed it. "We have some of this, but this," he said, lifting the USB, "is detailed." I raised an eyebrow. "More detailed than what she provided?" He smirked. "She claims her security detail was conducting a perimeter sweep, and you threatened them at gunpoint without cause." I actually laughed. A midnight sweep with a crowbar. Was she sweeping for aggressive raccoons? He didn't laugh, but a flicker of amusement crossed his face. "She claims HOA safety enforcement, says the land borders a shared boundary." "She's lying," I stated, my voice steady, "and I can prove it." An hour later, they presented a thick folder, county register stamps and all. Karen's lawyer had submitted a document claiming part of my property was undeveloped HOA land via a legacy boundary agreement from 1997. It looked authentic. Stamps, signatures, a faded topographical map. But something was off. I could feel it. I found a seal. "This is a 2005 seal," I declared, tapping it. "They didn't use this format in the 90s. And that map, it's a digital, satellite overlay, impossible in 97. The deputy nodded slowly. "We thought it looked updated. I have the original title deed," I added, "filed by the previous owner, who's still alive in Brownsville. You want a real witness? Call him." The room fell silent. Later, the sheriff himself called. "Mr. Harrison," he said, his voice grave, "we've seen strange things from HOA boards, but this is organized fraud. You've just opened the biggest can of worms in this county since the 1908 water rights scandal." I didn't want compliments, just a case number. He gave me two. The cracks in their story appeared swiftly. A week after I provided everything, footage, logs, the debunked deed, Deputy Miller called. They'd picked up one of the gate thugs, Travis Miller, limping out of a liquor store in Forney, bragging to the cashier about teaching some farm freak a lesson. Subtlety was not his forte. He sang like a canary. 2 days later, the sheriff's office asked if I'd give a recorded deposition regarding suspected HOA fraud and property intimidation conspiracy. My answer? A resounding hell yes. In the conference room, they had a file on Karen's HOA the size of a small Bible, emails, contractor receipts, and a handwritten invoice from the very security consultant who'd wielded the crowbar. Travis Miller, with a record for extortion and assault, confessed to being hired off the books, paid in cash for light pressure to make me comply. He claimed Karen assured them legal protection, promising fake documents to make my land appear under HOA jurisdiction. It was all a deceptive charade, meticulously crafted by someone with a law degree. Enter the HOA's real estate attorneys, Ethan Fisher and Mariah Kelly, whose names graced Karen's previous letters. Fisher had a history of aggressive covenant enforcement. Kelly, a former county clerk, likely still had access to document templates she shouldn't. They were the architects of the forged legacy boundary agreement. The sheriff's team pulled the digital signatures from Karen's PDFs, modern timestamps, metadata showing edits less than 6 weeks prior. A rookie mistake, not scrubbing the file history. The sheriff called me again, his voice weary. "We've opened a criminal investigation, fraudulent documentation, unlawful harassment, conspiracy to coerce property surrender. The DA is reviewing charges. Had Karen been arrested?" "Not yet," he said. "She's lawyered up." Sure enough, that evening, she held a press conference outside the HOA clubhouse, looking like a polished politician. "Mr. Harrison," she declared, "has demonstrated aggressive and paranoid behavior, threatening our community's cohesion. Our safety protocols were misrepresented. We are deeply saddened and hope to resolve this through lawful civil channels." I nearly choked on my coffee. She was spinning it, portraying me, the man defending his land from crowbar-wielding thugs, as the aggressor. But she hadn't anticipated my move. 2 days earlier, I'd sent my entire organized story to a trusted local reporter. She'd called me instantly, asking if I'd go on camera. "Yes," I'd said. My segment aired directly after Karen's speech, on the same network. They even teased it during her Q&A. "Coming up, the man Karen Delaney doesn't want you to hear from." I kept it simple, standing before my gate, showing my deed, the video, the crowbar marks still scarring the steel. My words were slow, clear, devoid of theatrics. I moved here for peace. I've followed every law, paid every tax, built everything with my own hands. If anyone thinks they can take what's mine, they'd better be ready to explain it to a judge. I'm done playing nice. By morning, the story was Texas viral. HOA watchdog blogs, podcasts, even a meme. HOA problems, just add shotgun. The pressure on Karen mounted. A grand jury was assembling. Her own board was reviewing her presidency. Then, an anonymous email landed. I used to work with Karen. I have documents you'll want to see. Attached, damning emails showing Karen instructing her attorney to accelerate coercion against me, the non-compliant landowner adjacent to the eastern boundary. Time-stamped, signed, incontrovertible. They had picked the wrong man to pressure. I've always preferred a wrench or a loaded 12-gauge and a clear boundary to a lawsuit. But there's a point where words, fences, even warning shots aren't enough. I was well past that point. I found Rachel Grant, a no-nonsense Dallas lawyer who'd battled energy companies. She didn't flinch as I laid it all out. The footage, the forged documents, the threats, the midnight break-in, the smear campaign. Her first words, "Let's burn them to the goddamn ground." We filed a civil suit against Karen personally and the HOA corporately: trespassing, attempted coercion, conspiracy to defraud, emotional distress, property damage, public defamation. Rachel pushed for punitive damages, for punishment, not just compensation. It was time, she declared, for people like Karen to learn that committee membership didn't grant untouchable status. Simultaneously, the sheriff's office filed criminal charges. They moved fast. Karen faced 3 counts: conspiracy to commit fraud, document falsification, and hiring known felons for intimidation. Her thugs faced attempted breaking and entering and 1 parole violation. The ankle twister turned state's witness. The story exploded, regionally this time. Every channel that aired Karen's press conference now showed my footage alongside headlines: HOA president accused of orchestrated attack. Some titled side-by-sides, "The Farmer versus the Queen of Control." I couldn't enter the feed store without backpats or beer offers. One guy wanted to name his goat after me. I politely declined. I craved protection, not fame. While the lawsuit churned, I fortified further. New reinforced gates, AI motion tracking cameras linked to a Nevada server, perimeter alarms. New signs declared: private property. Enter uninvited and you might meet the owner's other security system. A tasteful shotgun image accompanied the text. But I didn't just hunker down. I fought publicly. I spoke on a statewide radio show about land rights, calmly explaining how power-drunk associations bully independent landowners, particularly those who resist conformity. I detailed the fake documents, the crowbar men, and even the GPS tracker I'd found under my truck, traced back to a cash rental by one of Karen's consultants. The biggest revelation came when Rachel subpoenaed HOA board records. Karen had built a private empire, using HOA funds, resident fees, for off-book enforcement actions, legal research, and private contractors. No board votes, no transparency, grounds for removal, easily. But the real clincher, an email from a board member, a month before the break-in. Karen says once Harrison is on board, we can fast-track the East expansion plan. She's got backdoor permits lined up. Just need him to stop being stubborn. I wasn't stubborn, I just wasn't for sale. At the next HOA meeting, now open to media, Karen played the victim again, claiming harassment, denying intent, insisting she was targeted for upholding standards. But no one listened. A board member moved to suspend her presidency. The vote was unanimous. She was removed that night. The look on her face, I admit, I savored it. The lawsuit continued, but the tide had irrevocably turned. Public opinion cratered. Reporters called her disgraced. Her HOA became a punchline across Texas. Me? No hero. Just a man who built a damn good gate and refused to let anyone tear it down. The courtroom was chillingly sterile, not in temperature, but in its quiet, orderly tone. No shouting, just glares, paper, and the slow, agonizing bleed of truth through polished lies. Karen sat 2 rows ahead, flanked by new attorneys who seemed to bill by the minute and blink by the hour. Her smooth facade had crumbled. Designer suit, yes, but slumping shoulders, vanished confidence. Her eyes no longer scanned the room. She knew who was watching. The judge, an older, no-nonsense man, dismissed her lawyer's postponement attempts. Then Rachel rose, poised, measured, precise. She began with the bedrock: my land deed, the video, police reports, GPS logs, gate activity timestamps, and the infamous crowbar, now Exhibit C. Then, the subpoenaed private HOA emails. One thread ignited the room. Once he folds, we can finalize the repurpose plan. The code guy will sign off once we clarify his incentive package. That was the bombshell. That code guy, a junior zoning official, had already agreed to immunity in exchange for testimony. Pale and trembling, he admitted Karen offered him a consulting role in a post-expansion project if he'd redraw the HOA's boundary to include my land. He regretted it, knew it was illegal, but Miss Delaney had made it sound like the board's will. Karen went stark white. Next, Travis, the crowbar man, limping still but now in a suit, remorse etched on his face. He confessed to everything: cash payments, being told I was aggressive and unstable, that the HOA had legal authority. Asked why they returned with weapons, he stated plainly, "We were told the farmer had been warned. It was time to show him the HOA wasn't bluffing." Then, Rachel called me to the stand. I told my story, from the quiet beginning, to the goats, to the land, and how one woman, disliking what she saw, felt entitled to take it. When I finished, the courtroom was utterly silent. The judge leaned back, hands folded. I've seen HOA disputes, fence arguments, barking dogs, even mailbox color squabbles, he said. But this is something else entirely. He adjourned, promising a ruling within the week. Karen knew. You could see it in her eyes. The verdict came on a Thursday, without fanfare, just the judge's voice, steady as concrete. Karen Delaney, guilty on counts of conspiracy, document falsification, and attempted coercion. Sentence, 4 years probation, $250,000 in fines, and permanent removal from any HOA board statewide. Her security consultant received 18 months. One lawyer lost their license. The HOA itself was slapped with $720,000 in damages, payable directly to me. No smile, no cheer from me. Just a firm handshake with Rachel. "Let's make sure they don't weasel out," I said. They didn't. The leaderless, desperate HOA board liquidated a community reserve fund to settle. The neighborhood that once yearned to impose its standards now cut lawn service, pool maintenance, and front gate security just to stay afloat. A month later, Karen's house quietly went on the market. No open house, no goodbye brunch. I added one more camera and a new sign. "Think your HOA has reach? Try that crowbar again. I'll wait." Then a letter, not a lawyer, not a reporter, but from the Texas Landowners' Rights Foundation. They'd seen my interviews, wanted me to speak at a symposium in Austin. Boundaries, law, and the power of saying no. I accepted. Stepping onto that stage, I didn't speak of goats or gates or guns. I spoke of peace, and how sometimes peace needs a man willing to hold the line.